Zoom here, isn't it? Thanks very much. Sorry, thank you. Sorry, I just want to see what's up. That's that one. Sorry.
Good afternoon and welcome to this lecture in our series Culture, Change and Challenge. Over the last number of years, the College Union, in association with the College, has held a series of lectures, and we've been delighted to welcome to the College some very distinguished speakers, including Seamus Heaney, Professor Robert McLaughlin, who spoke to us about the whole emerging technologies in the world. We had Professor Patrick Johnson speaking to us about cancer in the genome age. A visit from Dr. Gareth Fitzgerald, also from Antamastia at the time, Mary Harney. We had the Right Honourable Sir Liam McCollum. And of course we had a superb lecture delivered by the President herself, Mary McAleese. We've had Professor Eamon Duffy from Cambridge, Dr. Maurice Hayes, and one of our past pupils, Tony Connolly, talking to us about the life in the media. This afternoon I'm delighted to welcome back to St. Columns one of our past pupils, who is also an alumnus illustrissimus, one of the most distinguished past pupils of St. Columns, recognised by the College Union. And Ambassador James Sharkey has very kindly agreed to come and talk to us today on the whole theme of Europe, but I'm looking forward to hearing his perspective as someone who has a tremendous interest in Irish links with Europe, going right back into the distant past, and very currently working very recently as the Ambassador to the Council of Europe and now as Ambassador to Switzerland. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say, and I'm delighted that so many of you have turned up here this afternoon. So it gives me great pleasure, I want to have a go at saying this, to welcome His Excellency, Ambassador James Sharkey, Ambassador to Switzerland, the Principality of Liechtenstein and Algeria, and past pupil of St. Columns.
And if I'd known that I was preceded by such eminent speakers, I can assure you I would not have accepted this invitation. But I want to thank you for giving me the chance to come here today to visit, really, and to explore for the first time this green field St. Columns site, to meet and greet the great Colm Kill, who was strangely absent from those more austere premises in Bishop Street. I must say, whatever comfort and reassurance you get from the welcome of Colm Kill, it's quickly dissipated when you walk through the halls and you see the intimidating stare of two Nobel Prize winners and probably one of the greatest playwrights in the world, wordsmiths of the first category, one and all, whose contribution to language and to politics and to literature has helped to transform not just Ireland, but the way even Europeans think of themselves. It's at least some reassurance for me that one of these eminent personalities is present here today, a former teacher, a former mentor, a great Europeanist, and I hope that the main reason is here is to agree with everything that I have to say. Well, I'm sure that all of you are waiting eagerly with anticipation and bated breath to hear me say something about the Lisbon Treaty and its aftermath. But I want to remind you, as maybe I've done to some people before, of what Oscar Wilde said about diplomats. He said that when he encountered diplomats in conversation, they were permanently poised and paralyzed between the dangers of indiscretion and the risk of being irrelevant, and more frequently they were the victim of both those things. But you'll see that to avoid the risk of paralysis, at least in the first instance, I've chosen a very broad theme. Europe and Ireland, the long view. It's a mere span of 1400 years of Irish and European history. So you'll have to buckle your belts and bolt the doors. And Father Martin, for the next 3 hours, please ensure that there's no escape from this room. This title, Europe, the Long View, was selected some months before the recent referendum. You can testify to that. And at the time when I confidently expected that there would be a yes vote, a thin yes, I would say, but a yes nonetheless. And what I wanted to do, what I still want to do, is to provide a sense of the historic continuity and inevitability of Ireland's role at the centre of European developments. Although we are often, and I believe too often, described as an island behind an island off the European mainland, the long view of Irish history demonstrates our incontestable ability and really our overwhelming need to transcend geographic peripherality, to leapfrog over our nearest neighbour and place ourselves time and again at the European core. And despite the referendum outcome, I believe that this remains not just an Irish imperative, but also really a fundamental, a passionate, and a widely shared Irish desire. The no vote of the recent referendum was in no sense an anti-European vote. And we can see that regular EU polling, I'm sure you're all familiar with what's called the Eurobarometer, and the most recent Eurobarometer, taken after the referendum, shows 89% of those people consulted in favour of continued and profound Irish membership of the European Union, so that we remain among the most Euro-enthusiastic of the European peoples. And for Ireland to join with Eurosceptics in Britain or Scandinavia and isolate ourselves at the economic and political periphery of Europe, for me, is an unthinkable option, at odds with our national interest and our historic experience, a step back to the 1950s. Just as bad, for me, is the notion of EU second division status for Ireland, with our partners, who are also our competitors, and of course our nearest neighbours, all having full decision powers on issues fundamental to our destiny and prosperity as a nation, decisions which we could protest but not really change. And this is something, in fact, of a nightmarish scenario. So one way or another, a solution must be found to our current predicament, and I'm confident that it will be found and that it can be found, even if it is far too early yet to say precisely what form that solution will take. Since I'm speaking, and being an official I have to stress this, since I'm speaking in a personal capacity, and of course sheltering behind a broad theme, I hope I can circumvent the danger of diplomatic indiscretion, which I mentioned earlier. But to avoid the risk of irrelevance, I have come armed with props. I brought with me from Switzerland recently digitalized pages of old Irish text, which in some cases have not been seen before in Ireland. These are indivisibly and inspiringly part of Ireland's heritage, and their confirmation of our constant and creative contribution to Europe from the early medieval period onwards. I should explain maybe something of the background to this collection.